Hello, race fans. It's a Monday, and I guess we got to review the Las Vegas races this weekend. And while they weren't bad races, I want to say they were just very average, mundane, not super eventful. Didn't have a bunch of cautions. They were probably two of the cleanest races we've seen in a while, and yet I can't really get excited about either result or either race. And I like how they both ended. It's just from a quality of racing, it was just very normal. It was, tire wear was normal. Passing was a little bit better than average, so I'm going to score it just a little bit above average. Race quality was just a little bit above average, but overall, I just thought they were just both very normal, basic races, not super exciting. So, I guess my question is, how do we make those races, a little bit more exciting? So I'm wondering, maybe the 750 horsepower package should be on the mile and a halfs. Maybe a little less downforce, make some passing a little more chaos. There were very few restarts. I think there were only two or three cautions for incidents, and then it was just the restarts at the end of the stages. So um, again, it just not super eventful, solid racing, good passing, but not great passing. So let's get into it, because overall, they were enjoyable races, but they didn't wow me. I didn't give them any bonus points. I just kind of went sevens across the board, and I actually scored uh both races the same. So let's get into it. This is for the Cup Series race, and I gave it, 7.5 and 7.5 for passing and racing quality. So just a little bit above average. So, there wasn't a lot of grand strategy. We were not flipping stages, so I just left that at the seven. The tires were not really a factor. I mean, I guess there were maybe a couple flats. I know Hocevar had a flat that kind of messed up his day. And I would have maybe given it a little better racing quality if not for all the mistakes that happened on pit road. We saw a lot of mistakes on pit road, speeding or, things like that. So, overall, very slightly above average, very mundane, but enjoyable. But I didn't give it any bonus points for being a really exciting race or a lot of action or just, a ton. It was just pleasant. I don't know if I'm conveying this well to you. So again, I just want to show you in both of my scores, I gave them a 72, which is not bad. It's just it just doesn't blow you away. So it's again not a bad race, just not an exceptional race. Not even like totally average. I would say it's just a scotch above your totally average. I put based on my system, a 70 would be sevens across the board. It would be your, you know, most basic standard middle of the road race. Because I'm using a letter grading system instead of like perfect average, because a perfect average would be the 50 mark. And I just think putting anything in the 50s means we're downgrading a lot of stuff. Unless y'all think I should rejigger my, um, you know, standards here and make, instead of a seven as the basis, move it down to five. But then I feel like we'll never get into those extraordinary A races or anything like that. So tell me what you think about my scoring system right now. I use seven as the baseline. So your perfectly average seven across the board is going to be, your most basic race, which is going to be 70. And that's just average, 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 average. And, if we got, we're going to deduct from that for bad days, we'll add to it for good days. And in this one, I just added just a scotch to passing, because I thought there was decent passing. We had Denny Hamlin fall to the back, have to work his way back front because of a speeding violation. So we had a couple of those. And then overall, I think the Toyotas probably had the best day in Cup. Chevy won in O'Reilly. Congratulations, Kyle Larson. Congratulations, Denny Hamlin. Both of you had phenomenal weekends. I think Kyle Larson also won his high limit race. Corey Day, I believe, won a high limit race. So very interesting. Corey Day's growing on me. And let me just, quick comment on Corey Day. The dude has speed. But what I think, and in listening to what a lot of the interviews with, like, Kyle Larson, some of the other people, some of the dirt track racers, um, I think what he's dealing with, and it's anytime somebody deals with a new car, you're not quite sure where your corners are. And I think that's kind of Corey Day's issue right now. He's still feeling out so that, like, where the corners of the vehicle are unconscious. Right now, it's a bigger vehicle than he's ever driven. He drives, sprint cars and stuff like that, dirt track stuff. So he's kind of got to find where that edge of the car is so that it becomes, part of his unconscious ability to drive and know where that corner is. It's just, I don't know, if you're in your car and oh, I can keep backing up because I know kind of where the back of my car is. I know I can make that turn and I'll be like 3 inches from the wall there because I know where the front corner of my car is. That's what I'm thinking about. And I just think Corey Day, we can tell the dude is a phenomenal driver. He just doesn't quite know where the corners of his car is yet, but he's getting better. And notice that he had fewer incidents, fewer issues, and he's getting a lot of top 10 finishes. So we know he's got the speed. We know he's got, the talent. Now he just needs to kind of figure out the car and get all those pieces working together. So that's kind of my 2 cents on Corey Day. I can see the talent. It's just now he's got to learn the car a little bit more. And once he learns the car, look out. I think you got a very, very dangerous driver on your hands who I think we should be watching for several years to come. And then, I'm a fan of Shane Van Gisbergen, and I just think he had a kind of rotten day on Saturday. So let's look at the results instead. Let's start with the results. Denny Hamlin, phenomenal day. I thought he looked the fastest car all day. Obviously, the Toyotas all qualified well. Christopher Bell in the pole. And then we had 4 or 5 Toyotas in the top 5 to start. And then let's look at how we finished. Hendrick Motorsports had a good finish. They were up running kind of toward the front all day. But look at JGR. JGR, 1st, 4th, 5th, 8th. And Chase Briscoe, I feel so bad for this dude because you can tell he's an amazing driver. And yet he had a speeding ticket on the way to the track. And then he got a speeding violation in the pit. And he just is just digging himself out of a hole. He missed out on stage points, but, scoring 18 points by finishing is huge. So am I reading that right? He scored 18 points. Oh, no, starting position was 18. Sorry. Get to it. 29 points. So big day for Gibbs Racing. But also a big day for Hendrick Motorsports. I thought Chase Elliott and Byron both looked strong all day, kind of going back and forth. Chris Buescher and the RFK Fords showing that the Fords have speed here. And, we got Logano and Blaney outside the top 10, which I was not expecting. I was expecting a very strong showing from Blaney. I'm kind of on the Blaney train this year. I think he just seems primed for a very good season. And then also I was pleasantly surprised by how Suarez did. Obviously not as good as anyone would like, but frankly, the Spire Chevys did not look fast. The Trackhouse Chevys did not look fast. Shane Van Gisbergen had an awful day. He actually finished last. And he basically started spinning out in the first lap, and then from then on had car issues. And I think it was just an ongoing day of kind of issue after issue, bumping into stuff, and just not a great day for him. And then we know Connor Zilic hit Stenhouse because Stenhouse didn't indicate that he was going to the pits, and so we got that caution toward the end. but Connor Zilic is just having a horrible start to the season. We all know he is so much better than what he's finishing at. He showed speed, he showed, driving ability, especially at Coda. And he's been like toward the front for the super speedways until an accident or something took him out. And then here he just, again, just some mistakes and he had a bad day. But what can I say? I didn't feel like the Spire Chevys were there all day. Hocevar kind of going back and forth, but I think he had a speeding violation as well. So a lot of speeding issues. Now, we need, the drivers need to be very cognizant that at Vegas, those timing lines are only 60 feet apart, as they talked about a lot on the broadcast. 60 feet, and then we had so many speeding violations. So these guys, they got to work harder to make sure they don't get those violations. And then just overall, Justin Allgaier didn't run as well as he should have, didn't run as well as the other Hendrick Motorsports Chevys. Kyle Busch had a rough day. Just overall, I felt we really just were watching kind of the Toyotas, the JGR Toyotas. We were watching 2311 because Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick were all in the top 10 for a long time until the very end. And then Bubba Wallace finished 9th and Tyler Reddick 13th. I think that's the worst Reddick finish of the year so far. So overall, I think the story was really JGR being super fast, and then Elliott and Byron being right there on their tail. Not quite as fast, but given enough time, I think they would have caught up. I think they had the long run speed to catch up, but I think Denny Hamlin just had the fastest car. And I thought he looked really strong. I was cheering for him to win at the end because he was definitely showing that he was the dominant driver of the day yesterday. So overall, thought that was really good. Then want to just hop over to O'Reilly for 1 second because I feel like Kyle Larson, great. He didn't really feel like he had a great car, but that was a Junior Motorsports car, giving Junior Motorsports, I think, their 107th victory in the O'Reilly series. So congratulations. But then you had Kyle Larson and Chase Briscoe running second. Sheldon Creed, he's going to have to make a phone call. He's going to have to call up Taylor Gray and apologize because he just ran him off the road. Coming around the curve, he hit his bumper, and I know Gray was blocking, but he just shipped him into the wall, and it was he probably could have avoided it. Justin Allgaier, I thought, looked pretty strong all day. Sammy Smith looked really strong. Jesse Love probably, frankly, should have won that race, but one of his tire carriers, I guess, missed a flight or was delayed, couldn't be there. I don't know. It just wasn't there. So I think the crew chief was filling in, and he literally, while trying to catch a tire, fell over the wall. So they had a pit violation because the dude literally fell over the wall. You're watching it just going, oh my God. So the whole weekend, I feel like the bigger story for me was just all the pit road issues, miscues, errors, speeding violations along the pit. So that's kind of stuff needs to be cleaned up if people are going to be, really consistent for the year. Because Jesse Love, I felt, was pretty much dominant most of the day until he had to fall back and had to work his way back up to sixth position. So feel bad for Jesse Love. Connor Zilic had a solid finish. 7th, Corey Day, 8th, William Sawalich, 18th, I'm sorry, 9th, and then Austin Hill, 10th. And then now remember, this is just a little aside here. Austin Hill had that amazing recovery at Daytona earlier in the year. Probably one of the best recoveries I've seen in a long while. Shane Van Gisbergen had a very similar save on lap 1, caught himself, tapped the wall. But I think we have two contenders for kind of the save of the year right now. I think Austin Hill is winning, but SVG's save was very similar. Maybe not quite as dramatic or getting right back into the racing groove that Austin Hill did, which is why I think he's kind of leading that right now. But overall, I think it was, again, an above average weekend of racing. I even watched Indy and it was okay. I'm just not as much into Indy. I'm learning more. Alex Palou got second, but overall, I thought the Indy race was actually pretty fun. Um, but let's get into standings. All right. So we got a little bit of movement, but also a little bit of return to where we were before last week. We now have Bubba Wallace back into second place. He moved up one position. He's now trailing Tyler Reddick by 61 points. So they're basically, with one good race by Bubba Wallace and a bad race by Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace could be leading right now. Ryan Blaney also basically one good race out of first. He's in third now. He, 67 points behind with 188. Then we get Denny Hamlin, 78 points behind. Now remember, he got 70 points this weekend. So he's roughly one race where he has a good day and Tyler Reddick has a bad day from being in contention for first place. So congratulations on Denny Hamlin for basically, getting back to where he should be in the point standing. But overall, JGR probably had the biggest weekend for points. Denny Hamlin up 8. Christopher Bell sticks at 6. Ty Gibbs up 5 positions. And Chase Briscoe moved out of the basement. He's now, moved up 7 positions to 26. So he's climbing back. But overall, I think JGR probably had the biggest overall points move of the weekend. Ty Gibbs is looking fast. I mean, he's had like pretty much all top 5s or top 10 finishes so far this year. So let's keep an eye on 54. I think he is primed to maybe win his first race this year because he's showing speed and he's making the right moves, staying toward the front, not making a lot of mistakes. So I think we have a potential Ty Gibbs win coming this year. We'll see. And, Ryan Blaney down 1 position. I already mentioned that. Chase Elliott down 1 position. Christopher Bell sits tight at 6. Kyle Larson moves up 3. Now he's only 98 points out of first, tied with William Byron. So looks like we got 3 Hendrick Motorsports Chevys kind of climbing up the ranks in the top 10 right now. And then we got to look at RFK because RFK, all 3 of them are sitting in the chase right now. Chris Buescher, 9th with 146 points, 109 out of first. Brad Keselowski, how do you want to say it? 127 points, 128 out of first, sitting in 12th. And Ryan Preece, 125 points, 130 out of first. So overall, I think that's pretty interesting for RFK. Joey Logano sitting there at 11th. He dropped 4 spots. And then we got the Spire cars sitting here right on the bubble. We got, Michael McDowell at 14th. He dropped 6 spots. Carson Hocevar dropped 1 spot to 15th. Shane Van Gisbergen, even with that horrible last place finish yesterday, is now right on the bubble, tied with Daniel Suarez and AJ Allmendinger. I mean, look at that row of Chevys right there at the bubble. But Shane Van Gisbergen had the worst day yesterday. He dropped 11 spots, so he's right on the bubble, tied with Daniel Suarez, the other Spire Chevy there with 117 points, and AJ Allmendinger 117 points. They're 138 out of first. And then we get Zane and Ross and Nemechek and Kyle Busch. He's now 165 out of first at 22nd. But I mean, frankly, I thought Austin Dillon looked much sharper yesterday at Vegas than Busch did. Look, I mean, Busch is one of those drivers that I do want him to succeed because it helps bring the normies in because the normies know that name. Kyle Busch has been around a long time. Same thing with Denny Hamlin. When Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch do well, that gets out into the greater ether, the air, and more people who maybe don't follow the sport as closely as we do kind of perk up their ears because that's a name they recognize. So I just hate it when Kyle Busch is doing poorly because the dude is one of the best race car drivers I've ever seen, and it just kills me that he's having so many struggles right now. So Just really think it's just bad when you see a guy who is so good have such a long dry spell. Like again, Kyle Larson's another example of that. He's going on 29 cup races without a victory. The O'Reilly race yesterday, I think, really helped. The Sprint Cup race probably also really helped. He had a very strong weekend. He almost swept the weekend, but it would have been interesting to see if he could have gotten the win at Vegas and gotten the whole package for the weekend, winning both O'Reilly and Cup and a sprint race. So that could have been really fun. So overall, I thought it was pretty solid race weekend. We got Alex Bowman. I hope he comes back soon because if he does, if he doesn't start getting some points by actually being in races, I don't know if he's going to have a possibility of getting into the chase, which I just think would be unfortunate that it's a health issue that prevents him from being in the chase, not a racing issue. So I feel like that really sucks. So, but what can I say? I thought, overall, very slightly above average race weekend. Some very clean racing, but not a lot of action. So, but overall, let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And see you next week.